people, lazy and evil. For years I've watched y'all allow Donald Trump turn you to crazy people. Where's that freedom eagle when you must need them? You bugging like beetles and lining up gleeful sticking needles in. 2020 was the year that y'all were losing it. Watching smart people I respect turn into lunatics. The rational became irrational. The avenue we travel through will have a few kickbacks will hassle you. Y'all fools so short-sighted, of course you write it. Shut it down, print money, you should be indicted. What you are doing is criminal.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Deep Woke State podcast. This is the premiere episode, if you will. My name is Count Chocula. You will be able to find these episodes on my YouTube channel. If you just search Count Chocula. We'll also be on Spotify and all of the main podcast platforms. So, I figured I had been spending enough time browsing through social media on a daily basis that I might as well start commenting on some of this stuff that that's been flooding the nation for the last, if you will, for the last decade or so. But I knew some of this craziness would escalate as soon as the Joe Biden administration took over in January of 2020, and he has not disappointed. So what we're going to be doing is looking at all the crazy wokeness that is just infecting everything, whether it be politics or economics, culture, things that I care about, movies, comic books, what have you. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, before I start, I have one thing to say. I'm going to be, I originally meant to have a person with me, a co-host, or maybe two at some point. So down the road, it won't just be my voice you will be hearing. I'm going to be trying to bring on some other people as well to discuss all this craziness. It's some people that I know from just like online gaming circles or from social media. So let's get right into the craziness. We'll be trying to do this once or twice a week, just reporting it, kind of like a this week in crazy wokeness that's going on in this nation right now. So let's go ahead and let's get into some of this. As you know, now who is this really hot chick right here? I mean, we're off to a good start, right? Well, maybe not. We've got the war in Ukraine going on, of course. And all the leftist social media activists and the Hollywood celebrities. Now it's all about Ukraine. We support Ukraine. The same people that had no idea where Ukraine was or didn't give two shits about Ukraine about 3 weeks ago. But now we're told that we need to care about this big Ukraine conflict going on there on the Russian border. It's only been going on for decades. NATO's been using Ukraine as a chess piece to destabilize that area for decades now, and pretty much did a coup in 2014, and and it's just kind of snowballed from there. It's destabilizing the area. In my view, we have absolutely no business. NATO has absolutely no business in the conflict. Ukraine is one of the most corrupt nations on the face of the earth. It has been. And, we're hearing this big narrative about, it's my democracy. And it's got nothing to do with any of that stuff. So Zelensky is just as rotten as Vladimir Putin. I'm not defending Vladimir Putin by any stretch of the imagination. Russia will be Russia. But as far as the Ukraine conflict, it's not just that cut and dry. It's not that simple. And some of these people, before they take a stand, need to look back at some of the history of that conflict going on over the decades, and it will bring some light to that situation. But you can't expect the crazy progressives and the Democrats and the big the big woke movement to do their due diligence or their homework in looking at these subjects. So things aren't going so great on the home front here. Everybody knows. You can look at the gas pump. I was at the gas station this morning. I didn't get gas, just putting air in my tires. But I was like, should I? I had 3/4 of a tank. I was like, should I fill up now? It was 409 where I live. I live in Ohio, rural Ohio, where, just 2 years ago, the price of, gas was barely at $2 a gallon. And, even, back then I thought that was, oh man, gas is almost $2 a gallon. I was like, oh man, this is getting bad. Only if I had a crystal ball and I could have seen 2 years into the future and, the Biden train wreck administration. And now we've got gas going on at 409. And that's actually below the average, the national average out there, out there in California where things are more expensive anyway. Gas is like $6-7 a gallon. I hear some states are temporarily suspending their state gas tax or whatever it is. So to try to, but that's only going to amount to about 30 cents a gallon. So I guess it's better than nothing. But I mean, who knows where this is going to go? $9-10 a gallon, maybe. Maybe in my area, it'll be like California prices, $6-7 a gallon. I mean, who knows where all of this is going to, where this is going to stop, and inflation right on top of it. But, Joe Biden and his administration are trying to use the old distraction, with elections coming up. I wish a national election were coming up. I don't think I can wait till 2024. If the national election were this year, I mean, it would just be an absolute beating. He would be stomped. Look at those approval ratings down in the 30%, and I think that's a little high. I don't know who they're polling for that, but probably a great amount of Democrats. But even a lot of the liberals and the Democrats are kind of shaking their head like, what the hell is going on? Maybe Donald Trump wasn't so bad. And of course, Trump must be Nostradamus or something, because he said right there, you're going to have $7 a gallon gas. And but of course, it's Putin. It's all Russia's fault. It's all Putin's fault. It had nothing to do with Biden's day one policies of attempting to just derail the United States' self-reliance on energy. This is all by design. You can make the case where, well, it's just an inept administration, and it is. Joe Biden's been a moron his entire political career. It's a sad state of affairs. He's always been a dimwit, and now, you can't really just blame this on stupidity. This is all by design. This whole new green, trying to transfer to something that's just not practical. The technology is just not there. It takes energy to make energy, and that's just something these environmentalists will never get through their heads. So anyway, but what is Joe Biden doing? What's the narrative Joe Biden's pushing? Well, it's real simple. It's always shift the blame. Even though when Trump was president, he was tweeting out all the time, oh, the president is 100% responsible for the COVID deaths and pushing a false narrative. And the president has to take 100% responsibility for everything going on in the nation. That was when Trump was president. Now when he's president, it's all Russia. Vladimir Putin is the supervillain. He's Dr. Doom. Pushing this false narrative bullshit. So what is his propaganda plan? And I'm sure this isn't Joe Biden's doing. This is probably Jen Psaki, the White House spokesperson, press secretary Jen Psaki's doing. So what have they done? Why do we have this lovely young girl up here on the screen. Let's listen in a little bit. This is Joe Biden's propaganda push. We're going to invoke the TikTokers. The TikTokers will sway the American people's minds. So let's listen to this. What this young lady has to say.
Why is gas so expensive, and why is the United States inflation rate at a 4-time decade high? I had the opportunity to ask the White House why gas down the street is...
Well, that's your first problem. You asked the White House. I mean, what else is the White House going to say? Of course, oh, no, it's just, Joe Biden's train wreck, disastrous policies that have the intent of destroying the nation are to blame. No, of course not. So, yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt this lovely lady. So let's continue on here.
$7, and here's what they said. The obvious reason we're getting out of a 2-year pandemic when
it's obvious,
goes
guys.
Up, price goes up.
Oh.
But the call was predominantly about Ukraine and Russia, so how does that relate? Russia is one of the top 3 producers of oil, and it is actually their number 1 revenue source. Now, with Putin starting this horrific fight between Ukraine and Russia,
it's horrific,
nobody
guys.
wants to work with him and do an international trade. So, with people being scared of war and limited resources, prices are bound to go up as well. For the people who can't pay $7 for a gallon of gas,
buy a
there's
Tesla.
an app called Gas Buddy that shows you the cheapest gas near you, as well as a link in my bio to donate to the misplaced refugees of Ukraine. Why is gas so...
Whoops! I don't want to listen to that again. I accidentally clicked again on it. Yeah, we don't want to listen to that again. Yeah, where do I start with this? So coming off a 2-year pandemic, now the demand for the gas has gone up, so the price is going up, and it's got nothing to do with the Keystone Pipeline or the gas prices and inflation started long before this Ukraine conflict, which actually had been Putin had been lining the border with troops. This has all been in the works for years. Okay, he doesn't want that Eastern Europe destabilized. This is the fault of this has to lie on NATO. So, but of course, why is gas so expensive? This is what gets me about this invoking these TikTokers and how the White House has absolutely zero awareness, and of course, all of these Twitter activists are going right along with this. Oh, this is wonderful to get these young TikTokers involved in this. It's the same people that said Joe Rogan was spreading misinformation. So let me get this straight. Joe Rogan isn't allowed to have actual qualified experts in his field, virologists, Dr. Malone, all that, all the 2 people that he had on. That was disinformation. But we can invoke TikTokers to parrot some crazy economic theories of why gas prices are going through the roof and inflation. The average price of goods and services around the nation are up 30-40% because of Russia. And it's okay to invoke TikTokers because I guess they're economic experts, but Joe Rogan can't have actual experts on his show. So where is all the outrage about disinformation here? And from a Chinese social media site, TikTok. So where's the outrage of the disinformation, the propaganda that they were the same thing they were accusing Joe Rogan of? So anyway, guys, I mean that's just kind of a starting off point of some of the craziness going on. But it gets even better when we're talking about these TikTokers. Let's watch Jen Psaki in action here. Jen Psaki has here we have from the what is this here? The New York Post. Oh boy, TikTok star parades around White House as intern to boost vaccines. This was back August 10th in 2021. This is months before the Joe Rogan debacle that they crashed down on Joe Rogan. Why didn't anybody bring this up? Here we have Jen Psaki. So let's play a little bit of this cringe video. So it's okay for this, and I'm not even sure they have a video here. I thought they had a watch video link. I probably am saving people from the cringe. Yeah, we're not going to be able to watch this video. But here, Jen Psaki brings in a... Yeah, let's see. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Oh, my God. I'm sorry. I apologize in advance for this.
Cooper, and this is a day in my life as a White House intern.
It's okay for this guy to be talking about vaccines.
Hey, everyone. Vote.
Getting people shots in the arm.
With a big coffee.
Sorry, they're like really strict in here. Hey, Jenny. I booked you a nail appointment, love.
Yeah, I didn't tell you to do that.
Oh.
It's called Initiative. Hi, White House. This is Cooper. I don't think so. Oh, doesn't matter.
This is actually the entrance to the West Wing. This is so fun, and it's really prestigious.
Hey, POTUS. Is Olivia Rodrigo still here?
No. We've come a long way in our
But Joe Rogan can't talk about
vaccines.
vaccines. Joe Rogan can't have actual experts on his show talking about vaccines.
All right, here.
Cooper.
Sorry, Miss Jen. And Jen, don't forget to have fun. Spirit fingers, mama.
We need to get shots in the arms of every single American.
We need to get shots in the arms of every single American from this TikTok star. What's his name anyway? I don't know. Benny Drama. This is the guy that they have no problem parading this guy around the White House, talking about getting everyone shots in the arms because he's an expert on viruses and vaccines. But Joe Rogan can't have actual virologists on his show.
I'm heading to a haircut.
The cringe continues here. I guess not. Okay, good. Yeah, I can't. We're going to pause that. I can't. Why I played that video, I have no idea. Let's pause all this. This is going off the rails here. Yeah, that's terrible. So let's transition. Speaking of Ukraine, let's transition here over to now this has nothing to do with Ukraine, but let's transition over here to some more craziness that happened that was just announced today, maybe yesterday. It says Woman of the Year honoree Admiral Rachel Levine defines courage. Admiral Rachel Levine, one of USA Today's Woman of the Year honorees, is a groundbreaking leader who credits family support for helping her succeed. Now, that's not this person. Imagine, let's just watch the video. This is USA's Today Women of the Year, where they give you a list of these incredible women that do incredible things throughout the year. Let's go ahead and let's roll this video and see what.
Women are often the creators of change.
Yes.
In terms of the changes that we see in our society and our culture, I think that women are those change makers.
Admiral Rachel Levine is a groundbreaking leader, public health champion, and an advocate. She credits family support for helping her get where she is today.
My father has passed, but my mother is still alive, and she is quite the role model. She is a retired attorney. I've always been motivated by those who work for the benefit of others, and that's what I try to do.
China and Russia are laughing their asses off right now.
Transgender 4-star officer across uniformed services.
And raise your right hand and repeat after me.
I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God. And it is true.
And I am a woman, so help me God.
The Assistant Secretary for Health and
oh my God! Now she's the Assistant Secretary for Health. Does this look like a stable person to you? Does this look like somebody that you should be taking any kind of health advice from?
Levine's message to the transgender and non-conforming community.
The message here.
So this is one of USA's Today's Women of the Year. She is actually an admiral in the U.S. military. the non-conforming community. What the hell is the There's just men and women, okay? And if there's no trans rights, there's just human rights, okay? You can't break these down into categories. This is just absolutely this nonsense. How would you feel if you were these women that were at the beginning of the video? And I don't know who else they've got, who else they're honoring the other women. I mean, this is going to overshadow everything. This man is going to get all of the attention and take all of the accolades away from the actual women that at the beginning of the video they say, is responsible for great things and change. Well, now we have this person who this is clearly a man. I don't know who you can grow your hair out. You can put on a little bit of foundation and makeup there. Why the U.S. military is allowing this absolute craziness. But, under Joe Biden, this is just par for the course. I saw all this coming. They've ramped this up. They've escalated this. And, if it's not the sports, the women, the men entering the women's categories in the amateur sports or professional sports or whatever, you notice that it's not really professional sports that the transgender people show out for, really, because they know they can't compete. They know, if a man went, he would have to be like a fairly top ranked man to compete with the top women. I mean, it can be done. They can do it, but there's no upside to that, because why would you, say you're an NBA basketball player and you want to you're going to what do they call it? You're going to be a transgender and go to the WNBA. Well, the WNBA doesn't make any money. We'll be covering that here in a minute. But WNBA doesn't make any money. You're not going to make near as much money as a player. So you don't see all of that. You only see that in the Olympic or the amateur ranks, where the athletes aren't getting paid anyway. So, but if there was real money on the line, you're not going to see that happen. You're not going to see an NBA player, go over to the WNBA. That's, and claim, identify as a woman. That's not going to happen. That wouldn't even make financial sense for that person. So it's all a hustle. These people are grifters. And the mere fact that this person is being honored as one of the Women of the Year honoree. How do the actual women? I know how, like J.K. Rowling, who I think I'm saying her name right, J.K. Rowling. Yeah, of course the author of Harry Potter, billionaire, whatever, who actually did something with her life. She basically rags to riches story. She's been coming out lately on social media. She's been very vocal about this insane nonsense going on with this whole transgender. I mean, if you want to have a transgender category, that's fine. Whether it be sports, whether it be what have you, the military, you can, if you can have a transgender. I mean, I guess it'd be okay to have a transgender admiral. Okay. But to honor them and take away accolades from actual biological women is just insane, and it's criminal in my view. And this person has no business being in charge of any kind of health related sector. Can you imagine? I mean, this is what mental illness looks like. There's no way to sugarcoat it. Oh no, it's just being who he is. No, it's not. It's a grift. to get attention. It's a grift to play the victim. The upside is if they would say, no, we're not going to allow this, we're not going to promote you or whatever, there'd be lawsuits abound, so it's definitely a grift. It's definitely nothing but attention seeking. And I think it's just criminal that the actual women, and here's what gets me. A lot of the feminists are behind this because they have no choice. They've been put into a corner of craziness. They've been shoved in a corner where they don't want to be outspoken about this. But this goes against all feminine. The feminists should be at the forefront of calling this craziness out. Why aren't they? And I've never heard that answered. I see a lot of people on social media ask that question. Where are the feminists? Why aren't they talking about this? Why aren't they raging about this? But they can't because of the way the culture is right now. They don't want to be canceled. They don't want to be called out. They don't want to be labeled a transphobe or whatever buzzword that they throw out in social media to shame people, to try to guilt people into being silent about what they know deep inside is wrong. And this right here is just absolutely wrong, along with the swimmer. And I think the NCAA is trying to put a policy in place, which is, of course, getting the backlash, trying to put a policy in place to stop the nonsense for having the transgender athletes transition into what they identify as. And I guess it has something to do with testosterone. I might have to look into actually what the NCAA is trying to enforce, what policies. But they make it really murky when they try to bring in some kind of biological theory on it about testosterone. It shouldn't even go that far. Biological men are biological men. Biological women are just that, biological women. The testosterone, I don't care about the hormone therapy and all that. It doesn't matter. We have two divisions for a reason. Now, if they're going to go all in on the craziness, just combine men and women. Just do it in all sports, professional sports, amateur sports. Go ahead and combine the two. And then you would really hear the outrage that now the feminists would say, the feminists would be all against that. But they're okay with a man competing with women. It's absolute insanity. And this is what I predict is going to happen in the years to come. All of this is going to circle around, and then the outrage is going to be from the feminists when more and more men are being honored for being the woman of the year in whatever field, and it's going to happen more and more. In the next decade, you're going to see this where the men are taking over the women's fields. And then you're going to see the feminist. There's going to be a breaking point. There's going to be a point where they're going to have to draw the line. There's going to be a snapping point. And what are they going to do? What are the feminists going to do? They're going to blame it on the patriarchy. They're going to say that this was all planned for the patriarchy to take over and suppress the rights of women. They're going to say that they were opposed to this from the get-go. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't see in the future, but come on. It's not a stretch to see what eventually is going to happen, because all of this stuff eventually is going to have a breaking point. So anyway, that is stunning and brave. USA Today Woman of the Year honoree Admiral Rachel Levine defines courage. Let's go ahead and watch a little bit more of the video. I know it's cringe, but bear with me.
In Philadelphia, in Love Park, is that trans rights are human rights.
No.
You have worth.
No. Yeah, not everyone has worth. I mean, you could be a complete piece of shit in society. You can rob, steal, kill, and you are a piece of shit and you don't have worth. Being yourself is not just simply being yourself and not contributing to being the best you can be for yourself, not for society's sake or whatever, is enough to give you worth. You have to, you just can't take the easy route, the grift, the hustle, and say just dare to be yourself, and that just shows your worth. Whatever you identify as, that's just that right there is your worth. No, it's your actions, it's your actual accomplishments, and it's being, you can say being true to yourself, but you're not being true to yourself here because you are a biological man. You are not being true to yourself. It doesn't matter. Your emotions don't matter. It doesn't change objective reality. Your subjective emotions do not change objective reality. Somebody needs to start telling these people this. Somebody needs to start speaking up and pushing back against this insanity. This is just absolute craziness. And trans rights, human rights, it's just human rights. It's just human rights. There's no such thing as trans rights. What they're trying to say about trans rights is you agree with me or we're going to come after you. We're going to destroy you. We're going to make you less than. No one is telling these people that they can't live their life how they want. Okay. But I mean, no one can, if you want to put makeup on and grow your hair out or whatever, you want to call yourself a woman, that's fine. No one is telling these people that they cannot do that. But there's a flip side to that coin. You can't tell everyone else that they have to change their reality. You can't tell the NCAA that, yes, you have to change the rules for me, okay? You can't do that. There is such a thing as subjective reality, and this trans right as human rights is just a load of nonsensical BS. There is no such thing as trans rights. No one is telling you that you don't have rights. What they are telling you is that there is an objective reality that you don't get to coerce other people into believing your self-perceptive reality. That's the problem. So let's go ahead. Let's continue on with this video here.
You have tremendous worth just for who you are.
No.
No matter who you love, no matter
Nope.
who you are, no matter what your gender identity, sexual orientation, or anything else.
No.
And to be true to that, and then everything else will follow. And it highlights something which I truly believe in, which is the value of diversity.
No.
Diversity is
No.
just
No.
so important.
No. You don't care about diversity. Sounds good. Diversity has never been any kind of thing to value. Because here's the problem. In appearances, they want diversity. They think that diversity is some sort of strength. Diversity has never been a strength. Merit is a strength, not diversity. But they don't actually want diversity. What they want is conformance. They want everyone thinking exactly the same. It's like an insect colony. That's the way they want to approach this. Diversity doesn't mean what they're trying to say it means. They want conformance is what they want. They want you on board with this person's subjective self, whatever they're self-projecting. They want you 100% on board with that, and they do not want diversity on that. Okay. It's easy to figure these people out because, they say, well, we need more black people or Hispanic people, but only the ones that agree with them, only the ones that are compliant with their way of with their views, with their outlooks. That is not diversity. That is just appearances. So, when these people talk about diversity, that's a word that I'm going to have a segment someday on an episode where talking about some of the words that are just overused in 2022 that I wish I could never hear again. Just words that you hear every day that are have absolute no meaning in reality. Diversity is one of them. Okay. What does it mean to be? We're all human beings. Okay. What does it mean to be diverse? I much would rather have diversity of thought than diversity of appearances. That is just, and look at the cultural icons from, the political, look at the, social reform icons from decades past. They always talked about a person's character, not their appearance. And these people are all about appearances. I mean, look, these people can't even define, the people that are on board with this can't even define what a woman is. So why does it matter if you're trying to just play dress up and look like a woman? That's just appearances. There is nothing about this man biologically that is a woman. Nothing. You can do all the hormone therapy in the world. It doesn't change biological reality. So anyway, let's continue on.
In our culture, it's important for our country, for the world. And so we really need to welcome diversity and actually celebrate diversity for what it brings to us as a nation and what it brings to us globally.
Admiral Levine wants her work to be a shining example for all.
With the COVID-19 pandemic and the other challenges that we face, public health is more important than ever. The pandemic has taught us like nothing before how
it's taught us that a big majority of this country are sheep. That's what it's taught us.
Communities, our nation, and the world. I really feel that everything I've ever done, again, whether it was
has been a lie.
Medicine, in education and clinical research, seeing my patients, in my role in public health in Pennsylvania, and now my role nationally has.
What about mental health?
Led to this moment.
And she plans to meet this.
And they just go along with the nonsense, man.
Courage would be to be true to yourself,
and you're not being true to yourself.
You are, and then to pay that forward to work towards the common good.
Women of the year, the common good. But you're not being true to yourself. If you were being true to yourself, you would just be a man. Your feelings are not relevant. A person's feeling, I can feel whatever I want, but it doesn't change biological reality. And we've let these people take it inch by inch. They have just encroached to move reality out of the way inch by inch. And there wasn't enough pushback because somehow they start slinging around names that make people feel bad, make people have some sort of thoughts of shame. If you really believe something in your heart, and something to be true as far as facts, stand for it. Don't let these crazy people take reality from you. And they're doing it inch by inch. They've taken over the culture, sports. They're taking over politics with the help of it takes a crazy administration of politicians with no backbone, zero backbone, and some sort of false narrative agenda to allow this stuff to keep encroaching on our realities. So anyway, that's kind of the day of crazy here on the Deep Woke State podcast here with Woman of the Year honoree Admiral Rachel Levine, defining courage for us, telling us what defines courage. I'm not going to take any kind of health advice from a person that obviously has some mental health issues. So anyway, let's go on to let's go on to the next. Oh well, geez, going on to the next. Speaking of somebody that's absolutely sold out, this is Stephen Colbert. Says Stephen Colbert is roasted for saying he'd pay $15 for gas because he drives a Tesla. Good for him. I mean, the guy makes $15 million a year, right? Hey, and I'm not disparaging him for that. I'm glad you sold out, and you have to push this woke narrative that I believe that Stephen Colbert doesn't actually adhere to the crap that he peddles on this show. I mean, he's just bowing. He's bowing down to. I'm sure his writers are all, I'm sure his writing staff is all just some kind of woke progressive mess. But I liked Stephen Colbert back when he was on the Dana Carvey show. I think they only made like 8 episodes of it or something. I kind of liked Stephen Colbert back then. That was what, mid 90s. It was kind of the networks weren't really ready for the Dana Carvey show. They just thought that Dana Carvey was going to be doing his Saturday Night Live characters in good nature, but they kind of pushed the envelope for the time. Does Stephen Colbert remember about some of the crap that they did on the outrageous stuff that wouldn't fly today on the Dana Carvey show? And he was right in the mix. He was, the things these guys do when they're trying to get their career launched, and then they end up selling out later on for the big paycheck. Some people will say, well, you can't really blame them for that. Take the money. But, eventually you always have to end up selling your soul. And Stephen Colbert is one that did that. Now, Stephen Colbert to me isn't funny when he's being Stephen Colbert. I don't like him as a talk show host. I don't like any of these new biased talk shows. I don't watch these late night shows anymore. Long gone are the days of Johnny Carson and David Letterman. It's going to be hard to replicate that, to replace that. Definitely Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyer and Jimmy Kimmel. Oh boy, there's another train wreck. None of these guys, and the ratings aren't that great. I don't know how they keep demanding these $15 million a year salaries. Just craziness. There's got to be a way to make that money better spent. But anyway, what are you going to do? So Stephen Colbert took a lot of flack. So let's listen to exactly what he had to say here. Says Stephen Colbert roasted, saying he'd pay $15 a gallon for gas because he drives a Tesla. Okay, Stevie, let's roll it.
I'm willing to pay $4 a gallon. Hell, I'll pay $15 a gallon because I drive a Tesla.
Yeah, you make $15 million a year for being one of the most unfunny, basically having one of the most unfunny hours of television on any network. Your ratings suck, so your salary isn't, the merit. There's no merit involved for you demanding that salary. You just simply got it, and you have to go. I understand you have to go with what's written for you, but in my heart, I don't believe Stephen Colbert believes this nonsense. He would pay $15 a gallon of gas because he drives a Tesla. How condescending can you be? And this isn't helping anyone's cause. This just fuels more outrage and this when it comes around to election time. And I really hope I can say that election's going to matter. I seriously have my doubts. I just like people had their doubts about the 2020 election. I'm not going to go into that because that's a touchy subject on YouTube. That's misinformation, or Spotify. You're not allowed to even mention that conspiracy theory, even though even though the Democrats were Russia collusion for 2016 to 2020, nonstop, 24-hour-a-day propaganda war against Donald Trump. So let's see what else they're having to say here. Yeah, we know he was roasted. And here we have somebody on Twitter. Nothing, and I mean nothing, is more tone deaf than telling a single mother of two making $30,000 a year who is struggling with gas prices to go buy a $50 to $80K electric car that she has nowhere to charge. Because, energy, electricity just exists. It doesn't take any... These people are morons, man. This whole electric car, green energy thing. Where do you think the electricity is being produced at the charging stations? It's just it's magic. It magically just exists in the ether. Electricity. We just plug it in. They have no idea what they're talking about. It's just not practical. It doesn't do anything for the environment. All of that is a bunch of nonsense. The whole climate change. I'm gonna be doing an episode talking about the whole climate change nonsense anyway. But this is pretty funny. People, and they're gonna find out. I think election time comes. People care about the now. You can virtue signal about saving the environment 100 years down the road or anything, and all of those apocalyptic predictions of how the climate disasters over the decades have fallen short. There is absolutely no proof that that carbon emissions from manufacturing, the time that man has even been manufacturing on this planet is a grain of salt or a grain of sand in all the beaches of the world. If you would put all the beaches in the world, one grain of sand represents the time that man has been manufacturing on this planet. It's absolutely insane, but they keep pushing this catastrophe of the world's going to end 2030. We've been hearing this. I grew up in the 70s and been hearing this as a little kid. They try to push that stuff down our throat. So all of this has to do with this whole green energy deal. They're pushing this absolute nonsense. And I'm optimistic that it's going to come back. But people are guilted and shamed into trying to believe the nonsense of this climate change stuff. And the war profiteers and the political profiteers of today are looking to profit now and sell this country, sell this nation down the tubes. The following generations, they are willing to line their pockets now to go ahead and sell future generations down the tubes. And that's what is going to happen to this nation, because somehow just what United States does seems to affect the environment. We're not so concerned about other countries, China, Russia, what they're doing, India, all the other nations around the country don't seem to be contributing to climate change. Nobody's speaking out about that. Just the United States has to do it, and we have to sacrifice. Got to have fossil fuels. You got to be energy independent, and this is all by design, agenda to take this nation down from this administration. I mean, they're not even trying to hide it anymore. So, but they're going to twist the propaganda. That's what they always do. Always accuse someone else of what you are guilty of. So I thought this was funny from this person. Struggling with gas prices. They're going to buy a $50,000 to $80K electric car that she has nowhere to charge. Like where I live in rural Ohio, there's nowhere to charge an electric car. I'm certainly not buying I'm not paying $50 to $80K for a Tesla. Now, if they want to go all in on the craziness, if the Joe Biden administration wants to go all in on the craziness, why not just make a deal with Elon Musk and provide every citizen in this nation a Tesla? I mean, if it's that important, if it's going to save the world, if the United States changing from fossil fuels, I mean, the other countries don't have to. The other countries can drill and do coal. China has huge coal deposits, massive coal deposits. But apparently their pollution isn't contributing. It's only the United States. We have to change. And it's absolutely ridiculous. But, I mean, if you're going to go all in on the insanity, go all the way with it. 50 to 80K, go ahead. I'll take a Tesla. I'll sign up all right now. I'll take a slick, send me a red or a black one, whatever. I want the top of the line, though. I want the top of the line. I want the most woke Tesla you can make. I want, and go ahead and install a charging station right at my home. And every home needs a Tesla. Every home needs a charging station. Just go ahead and supply that for us. If that's going to solve the problem and prevent catastrophe of the world, wouldn't that be the solution? Sounds good to me. I'm sure I'm sure maybe Elon Musk, maybe they better start manufacturing a bunch of Teslas here soon. Crank those babies out, So anyway, and Elon Musk starts Tesla to try to actually contribute. Now, do I think there might be a use for, I'm not disparaging electric cars. It doesn't really help the environment. That's kind of nonsense. Could it be some sort of cost benefit to running electric cars in the future if the technology, I mean, why aren't we doing atomic plants, atomic energy? We know about the benefits of clean atomic energy. Why aren't we going along with that? No. That sounds too dangerous. That doesn't sound green enough. It's my windmills and my solar panels. Windmills have to be produced, shipped, maintained. That takes energy. That takes energy. It takes shipping. They are expensive. Solar panels, it's the same thing. They have to be produced somewhere, right? They just don't magically appear. So, yeah, I mean, none of these. But, it's better to listen to some teenage Swedish girl, that gets up there and gets outraged and puts to shame and wags her finger in everyone's face about trying to guilt everyone off of fossil fuels. Russia and China aren't buying that crap. They're laughing right now at the United States, and rightfully so. The United States is turning into a laughing stock. There's no doubt, and a lot of it's being pushed by this Green New Deal nonsense that they're hyping, and who's going to benefit in the long run? Of course, Russia. When we shut down our pipelines, and then we have to be energy dependent on Vladimir Putin, who is the actual Russian asset. It's not Donald Trump, who wouldn't have done such a thing. It's not Tulsi Gabbard. It's not Tucker Carlson. It's the Biden administration. And all these progressive policies that are behind this nonsense are the true Russian assets. They are lining Vladimir Putin's pockets, period. So let's move on to the next. Let's move on to a little bit of a thing that kind of, and I didn't know about this. This is kind of touches me closer to home, if you will. This is more in my wheelhouse. I like politics and economics and whatnot, but my true passions. I do another podcast where I talk, from time to time, like once a month, I talk about fans' perspective of the good old days of Marvel Comics back in the Bronze Age, in the 70s and 80s. So this kind of has something transitioning into something to do with that. This is. And I wasn't even aware of this. I saw this the other day on Bounding Into Comics. kind of on the flip side to get away from politics a little bit, more into the culture here. Red Sonja film reportedly loses star Hannah John Kamen and director Joey Soloway. Now, you're probably thinking, well, what does this have to do with wokeness? What does this have to do with the craziness going on, and who really would care? Well, if you guys aren't, anyone that's not familiar with the Red Sonja character, it's another character that was introduced as licensing for the Marvel comics back in the late 70s, and actually they ended up making a movie about it. Of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the Conan. The Conan licensing for Marvel was a huge hit for Marvel Comics in the 70s. Kind of started to fade away in the early 80s a little bit after the Conan movie came out. And they did a kind of a spin-off thing with Red Sonja, which is kind of the female counterpart, barbarian type for the Conan character. And I guess this actress was in Yellow Jacket and the Wasp. I guess she played the ghost, but she's no longer has anything to do with the Red Sonja production, which, like I said, I didn't even know that was even a thing. I didn't know they were even talking about making a Red Sonja movie. So they lose star Hannah John Kamen. Well, let's look at a little bit more. This is the character that she was cast at. This is a pretty good rendering of true to the 70s and early 80s Red Sonja character. How does this person get cast as this person? Somebody tell me this. And this isn't anything new. The whole casting, there's been a lot of casting craziness going on thanks to this woke identity politics agenda going on in Hollywood. Like I said, they're slowly encroaching on the culture. They've pretty much taken the culture over when it comes to Hollywood and producing of these Netflix. Netflix has really gone off the woke deep end. Disney Plus, not as much, but pretty bad. So this is the casting. They did the same thing with She-Hulk. She-Hulk's main villain is Titania, who is a redhead. Like they must hate redheads in Hollywood. Okay, they must hate redheads because couldn't we just get an actress that would be more physically representation of Red Sonja than this lady? I guess this actress, I think she's like 5'5" or 5'6". She's skinny as a rail. Somehow that actress is gonna be this. Now, I gotta bring up this lady's Instagram here. Bear with me 1 second, because I gotta see what this lady is. Okay, this was the actress that was going to be Red Sonja. Now, she's a beautiful, beautiful woman, but she's skinny as a rail. There's no way she could. The original Red Sonja, in the comic book, she's this, big, tall, super sexy, redhead, warrior goddess. And they did the best they could with the Red Sonja movie, which wasn't a good movie. It had a little bit of Arnold Schwarzenegger in it from Conan, but because of the spinoff. But it was Brigitte Nielsen was the original Red Sonja that was cast in in the Red Sonja movie. And Brigitte Nielsen, who ironically at the time was married to Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester Stallone, who's what, 5? Maybe is Sylvester Stallone like 5'7", maybe 5'8"? He might be 5'9". I don't know. He's he's about average height for a man. He might even be a little shorter than. I know he's taller than Tom Cruise, but who isn't? I think Sylvester Stallone's like 5'8", maybe 5'8", 5'9", and Brigitte Nielsen's 6 foot. Of course, she wasn't a very good actress, but I guess she was a model or something back in the 80s. She was on that now she was all a burnout hag and was on that Flava of Love with Flava Flav and all. That was kind of an odd couple, but that was kind of funny. I watched a little bit of that. I got a kick out of that. But anyway, how does this woman translate into Red Sonja? There is no way. She's tiny. She's skinny as a rail. Red Sonja is not. Red Sonja is not skinny. How does this? I wasn't even familiar with this actor. Don't get me wrong. I'm not disparaging this actress at all. If they're going to offer her the part, take it. Doesn't matter if it makes any damn sense or not anymore to Hollywood. That's apparent when they're casting this stuff. You can even go back to say, Hugh Jackman is Wolverine. At least Wolverine's 5'4", Hugh Jackman's 6'1" or whatever, 6'2". But besides that, at least they made him look like Wolverine. How are they going to make this lady look like Red Sonja? I just don't, because you have to have that. Let's get off of that. Let's go back to the actual picture of Red Sonja. There's got to be some actresses that would be much better suited to play Red Sonja than this girl. But we can't be casting these white actresses anymore. What about Gina Carano? Gina Carano's what? I'm not sure how tall Gina Carano is. She's taller than that other girl, that Hannah Kamen or whatever her name is. I know she's taller than that. I think Gina Carano might be 5'9". They could make that work. Gina Carano, I think, would be a perfect Red Sonja. She's got the build. She's got the physique, the physicality that it would take. She's still stout. She's like 150 pounds. She could probably put on a little bit more muscle. But they could do the red hair. They did it for Kirsten Dunst in the Spider-Man movies. They colored her dirty blonde hair into the red hair. It's terrible casting just because, it wasn't Mary Jane. But at least they made her look somewhat like Mary Jane. They could make Gina Carano look like Red Sonja, but they're not going to do that because it would make sense. But Gina Carano has the wrong politics. Identity politics, buddy. So I guess this lady has dropped out of the running for being Red Sonja. So it's going to be interesting to see who they end up picking up. But I say Gina Carano. I wanted Gina Carano for She-Hulk. I think Gina Carano would have been a perfect She-Hulk. I can't remember the name of the person they actually got to do because She-Hulk is going to have a Disney Plus show. But I would love to see Gina Carano. And Gina Carano's got kind of a little bit of a darker complexion. But that lady I just don't see how you can make, and I can't suspend belief that much. I can suspend belief a little bit, but come on, Red Sonja? The whole point of Red Sonja is she's got this bright red hair, and she's this Amazon barbarian goddess. Look at her. There's no way they can make that lady look like Red Sonja. But anyway, oh man, just craziness. One more look at her here. I just don't see how you can make that happen. I really don't. I guess Red Sonja is going woke. Woke Red Sonja. So I'm gonna wrap up the show here with kind of a thing that's kind of been dominating the Twitter space over the last week, and it's really enraged a lot of people. Got a lot of people bent out of shape, and this is that Florida's so-called "Don't Say Gay" bill, and oh boy. Basically what it is, it's a 4-page bill, and I'm not going to go over here's what you need to know about it. You need to know that it's a pushback from all of the stuff going on about the progressives don't think, the progressive activists don't believe that your children should be yours. They want to control, they desperately want to control the children. They want to get the children early. They want to implant all of this cultural nonsense into your children. And they don't feel like you should have a right because of state-funded. They believe that your child belongs to the state. And they actually have come out and said that. There has been some progressive politicians that say parents have no right over what the state is teaching their children. And Florida has been pushing back on this. Governor Ron DeSantis is expected to sign this bill, and it's actually a parental rights bill. But you're not going to get any of these woke progressive Twitter heads, Hollywood celebrities and a bunch of Democrats and progressive politicians to they're gonna tune all that out. They can't see reality for what it is. They have to push the narrative. That's what the left does so well, and nobody seems to call them on it. It's crickets. They know, instead of shouting this stuff, they want to shout stuff down. The left has no problem being loud, whether they're right or not. They have no problem being loud and shouting the other side down. But the more conservative elements, the conservative politicians, they seem to be playing. It's an uneven playing field. They're playing by rules that the left aren't playing by, and this is a prime example of this. Now they're, they want to call it the "Don't Say Gay" bill because they're desperately trying to hire these crazy, demented, progressive teachers. The crazier they look, the crazier they act, the crazier they talk, as far as implanting ideas in these young children's heads. Their applications are put on top of the hiring list. We got to get, diversity. It's all because of diversity, But these people are just, some of these teachers, they make these TikTok videos that are absolutely insane of the stuff that they're talking about to kindergarten through third grade. And this is specifically what this bill is targeting, the kindergarten to the third graders. They're trying to protect, because all this came about with all these Zoom class, this teaching from home and the lockdown pandemic and all this. This is coming back to bite some of the progressives in the ass, because it allowed the parents to see some of the stuff that was going on inside of the classrooms. And a lot of the parents were shocked. Jaws were dropping. This is some of the stuff your teachers are telling my third grader, my fourth grader. I think this should cover all the way up until high school. If you want to get, if a high school teacher wants to get into a little bit more of the social, what's going on, because, a high schooler is still impressionable, but you can't compare it to elementary school kids. This stuff is sick. They are telling these kids that they can just simply pick their gender, and the deal. I'm not going to go through what they're telling them. They're just telling them a bunch of crazy, insane stuff about pronouns. They're wearing their pronouns on their name tag. These are my pronouns. It's absolutely confusing these children. These children have no idea what the hell is going on. They're impressionable. They're just going to say, oh, my daughter has, or my son came to me, my 6-year-old son came to me, and he said that he identifies as a girl. No, you told him that's a reality. You are the one that has coached the 6-year-old kid. The 6-year-old kid does not make those kind of determinations, okay? They are incapable of doing that. They do not understand the world around them. They're just learning about a little bit about themselves, and it has nothing to do with gender identities or this cultural activism or whatever, or some kind of, sexuality or whatever. My 6-year-old son thinks he's gay. No, you want that to be the case, okay? When I was a kid, when I was 6 years old, I wanted to play with I have an older sister that's 7 years older. I wanted to play with her toys when I was 6 years old. I wanted to play with her, whatever, Barbie dolls or whatever when I was 5 years old. I'm not too ashamed to admit it because she made it look cool. She made it look fun. I wanted to drive Barbie around when I was 5 years old in the Barbie Corvette. That didn't make me gay. I didn't, my parents didn't look at that and say, oh my God, or look at our son. He's exploring his sexuality. He's look at his, he's self-identifying as a female now because, playing with the Barbie and the Barbie Corvette or what have you. I mean, I know I'm being silly a little bit. I mean, it's actually true. And I'm sure my story is similar to a lot of young boys that had a older sister. I wanted to do everything my older sister was doing. So to me, that was cool. My 11, 12-year-old older sister. My sister's almost 7 years older than me. So naturally, that's going to be a thing. But these parents are, some of these parents, these progressive parents are doing this. And, that's your child. That's one thing. But the state is saying that you're not allowed as a parent that doesn't agree with that you can't question what a teacher tells your child. Everything's open. The teacher can, and they're saying now, questions has been raised to whether Florida's so-called Don't Say Gay bill violates the First Amendment rights of teachers and students in public primary schools in the state. Really? That's violating, not talking about sexuality and gender to a third grader is violating the First Amendment? Really? That's the argument? Because First Amendment experts told Changing America that the legislation could possibly infringe on speech rights of teachers, even though their speech rights are already curbed as public employees. No, that has nothing to do with the First Amendment. I can't go up to somebody's child, whether or not I've been put there as I'm employed by the state in a setting, and say stuff to a young kid, to a third grader, a second grader, and not have the parents aren't allowed to have any kind of input or no consequences. The left always loves to say, oh, the First Amendment that doesn't protect you from consequences. Well, what comes around goes around. There's a flip side to that coin. You shouldn't be, for one, it's sick and demented, and it's insane to talk about sexuality to any elementary school kid, okay? You know how many sexual predators there are as teachers that go unreported? They want to complain about the Catholic Church. Oh boy, the fucking teachers, the teachers unions are hiding this shit too. I mean, it's crazy, and the numbers would probably shock you, and it is happening. That's not a conspiracy theory. That shit is happening everywhere in the nation. And the public schools are a mess, and they're hiring based on identity politics to these crazy lunatics that want to talk about this stuff. That they should be teaching the alphabet to these kids, but what they want to be teaching is the LGBTQ, blah, 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 whatever it is, plus alphabet, and talking about transitioning to a fucking third grader. How crazy are these people? I put it on Twitter. These people should be on a child predator list. Anyone that backs this should be put on a child predator list, period. So they're saying here the bill is scheduled for a floor vote in the state Senate Monday, where it's expected to pass and will move to the desk of Governor Ron DeSantis, who's expected to sign it into law. And all states should have this law. This should be a national law where teachers aren't allowed to discuss this. But they think that the parents should have no say-so in that. You want to talk, you want to talk about this stuff to your child, that's fine. That's your business. Do it on your own time, not in a taxpayer-funded public school. It's just criminal. It's sick. It's insane. And you've got these crazy celebrities that are just hearing, "Oh, don't say gay, Bill." What does that mean? What are you talking about? Don't say gay, Bill. So let's try to look. I know there was a tweet by a celebrity that he's part of a let's look at. I'll just suffice to say, let's look at Mark Hamill's Twitter here for a second. Oh God, man, Mark Hamill is such a disappointment. He can think whatever he wants, but Ben Shapiro here had a little back and forth on Twitter. I'm gonna show it here. Mark Hamill had originally put out, just parroting without even knowing what the bill is about. I think he might have deleted it. I'm scrolling down Mark Hamill, who's a liberal loon, man. He's on board with all the craziness. Mark Hamill had put out a tweet that said gay, 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 gay. It was just endless gay. And I guess he had to delete it because Mark Hamill says, "Imagine calling someone a mind reader is considered more offensive than accusing me of indoctrinating small children into gender and sexual ideology." Well, that's exactly what they're doing, Mark. That's exactly what these teachers are trying to do. So that's the people you're defending by going gay, 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 gay. And I guess Twitter warned him or something like that. So he's doing the little flip off emoji, and he's mocking Twitter here. They always want to mock Twitter when they come after them a little bit. But here it is, Mark Hamill, gay, 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 and the little rainbow. So Ben Shapiro says, "So I take it you wish to indoctrinate small children into gender and sexual ideology," which is exactly what they're doing. Make no mistake of it, because that's the only reason you're parroting idiotic propaganda. So, yeah, well said, Ben Shapiro, exactly. That's right on the money. So, it's kind of sick, and it's very disappointing because, I love Star Wars and Mark Hamill. I love Luke Skywalker, but sometimes you don't want to really meet your heroes in real life because they can turn out to be really crazy douchebags, and that's kind of the par for the course in Hollywood. So Mark Hamill is no exception. So let's basically. I've got one more thing to talk about. It kind of involves a little bit, has to do with Russia. It's not the Russia-Ukraine situation, even though they're trying to turn it into kind of that, some propaganda. The United States is, the activist, the anti-Russia activist, trying to kind of turn this into propaganda. So what had happened was last week, a WNBA player, Brittany Griner, who was actually competing in Russia, she had been stopped by security in Russia, and I guess they examined her vape pen, and it had cannabis oil in it, which is a no-no, I guess, in Russia. I guess it's a law in Russia. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but what had happened is they've detained her, and I guess she's still being detained unless there's some sort of update to the story. She's still being detained. And if you don't know who Brittany Griner is, when she first came, she's one of the superstars in the WNBA, if there are any superstars in the WNBA. The WNBA is just a woke mess. It's kind of like the women's soccer team. They think what they do equals what the men are doing. It's just not true. On the world stage, no one really cares about women's soccer, and definitely in the United States of America, no one really cares about the WNBA. I know it sucks, but it is the truth. The level of play and entertainment is just not there. It's just not exciting to watch. It's, the NBA has become bad enough, but the WNBA has lost tens of millions of dollars every year since its existence. I think it's been around for now like a couple decades, and it only exists as a marketing arm of the NBA to say, oh, look what we do for women's equality and all of this. It's nonsense. WNBA could not survive on its own without being subsidized by the NBA. That's just a fact. Everyone knows that. Of course, the woke feminist progressives, they don't buy that. They think that they deserve equal pay. They deserve millions of dollars like the NBA players who are subsidized by China. Their merchandising and their financial subsidies from China are the reason. Well, the NBA is a bigger deal in China than you think. A lot of it had to do with Yao Ming going to the Houston Rockets. That was kind of Houston Rockets was kind of China's go-to team for the NBA, So, and you're not allowed to speak out about China, but I'm getting off the subject a little bit. Let's get back to Brittany Griner. She's of course she's a lesbian. Of course she's married to some woman, and that's fine. I'm not making an issue out of that, but of course that's one of the reasons why she's so revered and she's a superstar. She's like 6'8", and she's a good basketball player for a woman. But they originally, when she was being drafted into the WNBA like 7 years ago or something, they had her she did the talk show rounds, and I remember she was delusionally thinking that Mark Cuban was going to try to advocate for her getting a tryout for the Dallas Mavericks. She thought she was actually going to get a tryout for the Dallas Mavericks because Mark Cuban's the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. I don't know if that ever happened or not. And she was actually talking smack on some of the talk shows, saying that, oh, yeah, put me to work out there. I make the team. I could block some shots. And I'm sitting there going, you are delusional, lady. Then she doubles down on the delusion because she gets with some, ESPN. All the sports commentators now on all the shows are moderated by these women, these feminist women now. Not all of them are feminists, but, they push that kind of that feminist nonsense on their shows. So she appears on ESPN, and she actually is trying to call out DeMarcus Cousins, who is a NBA player, 6'11", calling him little man, and she would dominate him and all this stuff. She was talking crazy stuff because I think DeMarcus Cousins put out a tweet saying something like praising a WNBA game, but he didn't go all out, saying it was the greatest thing ever. And she took exception to it. I might be thinking of a different circumstance, but I think I remember where she was taking exception to it, and then she called him out saying, oh, why is your tweet not going, why is your tweet not accepting that we're as good as the NBA and exciting as the NBA? And they even had a couple videos of her trying to dunk. Now, she has dunked in a game. It's few and far between that any WNBA player has dunked in an actual game, actual season game in the WNBA. But they had her on the practice. Somebody was filming her in practice, and she was trying to dunk, and she was failing. So I guess it was a couple years later in her career, and maybe her legs are going out or whatever. But she's 6'8", and she couldn't dunk. She failed both times in her dunk. I wish I had the video pulled up. I could, but I'm not going to waste time. You kind of get the gist of it. So she's trying to call out DeMarcus Cousins, makes a big deal, and of course the host on ESPN was like, "Oh, the game is just as good, and you guys deserve equal pay." Come on. The only reason NBA players, TV deals, they actually have an audience. The NBA makes loads of money, okay? They have TV deals. They have merchandising. The merchandising in the WNBA doesn't make money. It loses money. They have to sell. They have to make a deal with their advertisers that I guess they have to be. They have to advertise. They have to allow some of the advertisers to be on some of the WNBA games. The point being is the WNBA is 100% subsidized by the NBA, and some progressive woke idiot might say, "Oh, you're full of it. That's not true." It's 100% true. The WNBA could not exist on its own without the NBA. That's a fact, 100%. They would lose $20 million a year. That's what they do. So anyway, so Brittany Griner makes like $200,000 a year. And they're all upset they're not making millions. So we have the headline here. It's not uncommon for WNBA players. Let me scroll up a little bit here. It's not uncommon for WNBA players like Brittany Griner to compete in Russia. Here's why they do it. Because it says playing in Europe during the offseason gives WNBA players an opportunity to earn 4 or 5 times their salaries in the U.S. Well, maybe because those leagues are subsidized by the government. I have no idea. See, it doesn't work that way in the United States. You actually have to have a product that people care about and people are willing to spend their money to be entertained by. Okay? It's not forced upon the people. Like, in Russia, they probably don't have much better. It's probably forced, the league. So, and they bring these WNBA players over to try to make it somewhat legitimate. So, this is why they're saying, so, the average salary, this guy goes on to say the average salary of a WNBA player is $120,000. Let's listen to some of this.
They have, a lot of fans, and they still have appeal and name brand recognition. And some of those European countries are willing to pay that. So the top WNBA players in Europe are making more than $1 million a year, which today is 4 or 5 times what they normally would be making, here in the U.S.
Yeah, I know a lot of us thought when the news broke about Brittany Griner that
they make that because they don't have.
Why is she going through Russia? When you stand to
they
lose
don't have the quality level of the NBA to compete
there,
with.
You can understand, why she might have been taking a risk going into a dangerous area. While we wait to see what happens with her, the WNBA has been out with an update on its players who compete in both Russia and Ukraine in the offseason. What is the league saying about them? Are they all right?
Yes. So
get the hell out.
70 or so WNBA players who went over to Europe to play. All of the players are gone, especially Russia, where a lot of the WNBA
get them out of there
to play at because they're treated like royalty there. But so far, all of the other WNBA players that were in Europe are gone, except for Brittany Griner, who's being detained.
On the other side.
So we've got. Oh no! I can't have that up. That'll be for next episode. I gave you a sneak peek of some of the crazy going on. Boy, that's that next segment I was going to do. I'm going to wait for next episode to tackle that one. Boy, that one's loads of crazy, literally. So here we are. If we all lose if Brittany Griner is left to languish in a Russian prison. No, we don't. Only Brittany Griner loses. She was stupid. She had cannabis oil in her vape pen. She got caught. This has nothing to do with any kind of Vladimir Putin propaganda. Of course, they're trying to spin it that way. Now, she simply broke the rules and got caught, and now she's got to have the consequences. Can't have consequences, though, for these for these WNBA players, right? And she's over there. It's not her fault she's over there. They want to blame society that they should be making as much money in the NBA as the NBA players. So she wouldn't have been over there. So it's the fault of society that she's in the state she's in right now because she broke the rules of having cannabis oil in her vape pen. It's because she just doesn't she makes $200,000 a year, and that's not good enough because my equality, okay? Well, the reason why they get paid more over there is because, for one, it's a export from the United States. The level of play comparatively to the European women is higher. They are looked at on a higher level over there because they don't have anything to compare it to. They don't have NBA players over there. They don't have an NBA league. There's good professional basketball leagues in Europe. They're all state funded. They're all nationally funded national teams. So, but they don't have a league like the NBA that actually produces money. It produces, it makes hundreds of millions of dollars in merchandising, and it's not from the WNBA. They have nothing to compare it. So they're basically taking the WNBA, and they're paying them more money because they don't have anything else to compare it to. That is, the WNBA, if you would transplant it over to Europe, yes, it would be a higher level of play. The WNBA players would be a higher level than what they're used to. But compared to the NBA, it's just simply not the case. It doesn't make money. They don't need to make money over there because it is funded. Those teams are funded nationally. So it doesn't matter over in the United States. You actually have to put asses in the seats that actually are willing to pay for the tickets and pay for the merchandising and watch it on television. And the viewership for the WNBA simply isn't there. So anyway, that's Brittany Griner. We will not all lose if Brittany Griner is left to languish in a Russian prison. Only Brittany Griner loses. So there we go. That's pretty much going to do it for this episode. Like I said, I'm going to be on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, Count Chocula. So if you enjoyed the show, hit that subscribe button. You can follow me on Twitter at CryptoCount at Twitter. And I might be changing that name. CryptoCount, kind of doing the cryptocurrency thing. That's not working out too well. That's another thing that the Biden administration's trying to get their hands on. So anyway, and I will have the show up on Spotify and most of the major podcast platforms. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. And until next time, I will talk to you guys later.